When Count Dooku left the Jedi Order, he did so on relatively okay terms. He and the Order didn't hate each other by any means. In fact, Dooku would occasionally visit the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and speak with Master Yoda and the other Jedi Council members. Now, whether this was to discuss the trajectory of the Jedi or the Republic, or to just catch up with old friends, I don't know. But what is interesting is that during Dooku's visits to the Jedi Temple, Dooku didn't take any time to speak with Qui-Gon, his former Padawan. According to the book titled Padawan, which takes place in 41 BBY, 9 years before the Phantom Menace, Dooku visited the temple many times. Qui-Gon was aware of this fact and would actually have people inform him whenever Dooku was visiting. In fact, one time, while Qui-Gon was meditating with Obi-Wan and training him, Qui-Gon received a call on his comlink. When he answered the call, he was told that Dooku had just arrived at the temple, to which Qui-Gon promptly ended the training session with Obi-Wan and left. We find out later that Qui-Gon had gone to the Jedi Council and had, according to rumors spread by Obi-Wan's fellow Padawans, had a huge argument with them. From Obi-Wan's perspective, he feared that Qui-Gon had been speaking with Dooku, Qui-Gon's former Jedi Master, and that Qui-Gon would leave the Jedi Order just like he did. However, in reality, Dooku and Qui-Gon evidently hadn't spoken at all. If we turn to look at the book Master and Apprentice, written by Claudia Gray, we can find a passage that proves this. In the book Master and Apprentice, which takes place 1 year after the book Padawan, Qui-Gon speaks with fellow Jedi Rael Averross, who was Dooku's Padawan before Qui-Gon. The two of them speak of their former Jedi Master and his decision to leave the Order and his absence from galactic affairs. Rael specifically states that he has not been able to get into contact with their former Jedi Master, and that Dooku has not been answering his calls. This surprises Qui-Gon, though he admits that he has not reached out to Dooku at all. The reason for this is that Qui-Gon feels that he and Dooku would just get into an argument about the Jedi, which was an argument that Qui-Gon was not ready to have. Ironically, Rael responds to this by saying that it was actually an argument that Qui-Gon was not ready to lose, and that, more than likely, if Qui-Gon were to speak with Dooku, he would become convinced to leave the Order right alongside him. This shows, though, that during the times that Dooku had been visiting the temple, Qui-Gon Jinn had been avoiding him, and that Dooku was more than likely avoiding Qui-Gon as well. I say this because the book Master and Apprentice reveals to us that Rael had actually been able to get in contact with Dooku, and that he lied to Qui-Gon about it. However, it was Dooku that contacted Rael, and not the other way around. Dooku had tried to convince Rael to join him on Sereno. It's clear by what Dooku is saying to Rael in the book that he has been consumed by the dark side of the Force. Whether it was because of Palpatine influencing him this early before the events of the Phantom Menace, or because of his fascination with dark side relics got the better of him. Either way, at this point in time, Dooku is turning to the dark side 8 years before the Phantom Menace. I feel that this right here is an important part of this topic, because if Dooku is turning to the dark side, and he is willingly choosing to avoid Qui-Gon and not attempt to convince him to join him like he is with Rael Averross, despite knowing how often Qui-Gon clashes against the Council, then I wonder if Dooku is intentionally trying to keep Qui-Gon away from all of that, away from the dark side, away from the politics, away from his personal issues with the Council. I think that Dooku is in fact intentionally trying to maintain a distance between himself and his former Padawan, not just because maybe he doesn't think Qui-Gon would go for something like the dark side, but because Dooku admires and respects Qui-Gon too much to expose him to all of that. The final passage that I'd like to turn to is in the book Brotherhood, written by Mike Chen. In this book, the Jedi Council is speaking with Count Dooku via hologram at the very beginning of the Clone Wars. A recent attack on a neutral planet has left many people throwing blame at both the Republic and the Separatists. Count Dooku is quick to arrive and manipulate the situation to make it seem like the Republic is at fault for the attack on the neutral planet. During this communication, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Count Dooku engaged in a verbal sparring match, so to speak. Both Obi-Wan and Dooku were attempting to placate the representative from the neutral planet while simultaneously shifting blame away from their respective governments. At one point, they got onto the topic of trust, to which Obi-Wan said to Count Dooku, "You knew my master, you were his master, so tell me, Count, did you trust Qui-Gon Jinn?" This question took Count Dooku by surprise, as the passage in the book continues. The mere mention of the fallen Jedi's name shifted Dooku's expression, his eyes softening and mouth turning for a flash before returning to a cold neutral, the first, possibly only crack in Dooku's armor. Qui-Gon Jinn was an honorable man, Dooku said. This passage, I believe, proves my point, as it clearly shows that Qui-Gon meant quite a lot to Count Dooku, so much so that the mere mention of his name causes Dooku to break character. When Obi-Wan name-dropped Qui-Gon Jinn, Dooku lost his focus for a fraction of a second. I believe that this moment, coupled with the previous passages from the other two books, shows that Dooku never stopped respecting or caring for Qui-Gon Jinn, and that he was very likely speaking truthfully when he told Obi-Wan that he wished Qui-Gon was with them now, back on Geonosis during Attack of the Clones. So, that's my theory. I think that while Qui-Gon was avoiding Dooku because of his loyalty to the Jedi path, Dooku was avoiding Qui-Gon because he respected him too much to expose him to his own path. Dooku's vendetta against the Republic and the Jedi did not extend to Qui-Gon Jinn, because he truly cared for his former Padawan. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked hearing the theory. And as always, thank you so much for watching.